Welcome, everyone. I just choose to make a few comments. Usually I give it over to Ruth or John, but I just want to welcome you, everyone. Nigeria Women Lead is a grassroots organization. So we amplify voices of all our stakeholders, particularly youth and women. And today's program is going to be a very interesting one. And on behalf of Ruth Abner and all our youth partners, I welcome you to this very heavy, very sad program as we dissect into what is happening in Nigeria. Bishop Kuka said Nigeria is in a pool of blood, and we want to see how we can alleviate and drain that blood so that there's a more religious harmony, and there's religious freedom, and there's safety and security for all Nigerians. My name is Soraya Dean. I'm the founder of Nigeria Women Lead. And in this call are all our team partners together with Ruth Abner. And we give a warm welcome to Franc Utoo, who will give us a first-hand witness account of what happened in his state. And at this moment, I'm going to invite one of our youth leaders to begin this program.
Thank you very much, everyone, for availing yourself to this great meeting. Um, this is a great meeting that we do once in a month to educate ourselves about happenings in the world and also in Nigeria. For today, we're focusing on a very sad situation that happened in Benue State, and we have our brother, our uncle Frank, who is here to share with us from experience what has happened in his own hometown. So you're welcome, sir. We really appreciate your presence with us here. And to everyone that is here, just stay glued as we get updated with things that is happening nationwide. So I want to use this medium to welcome our state coordinator, person of Miss Ruth Abner, as she take over from here. Thank you. You're welcome, Miss Ruth.
Thank you, Dofa. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this wonderful platform. As we heard from Dofa, this is a platform that we usually gather every month to educate ourselves, to discuss about the present happening here in Nigeria, in order to pick a bold step to see where we can play a role in doing one or two things to stop violence in Nigeria. For the sake of those who are coming for the first time, this is Nigerian Women Lead. I have to introduce the group again because I can see new faces. Dofa, can you share the slide for me? And I will want to introduce our work. Can you share this slide, please? Yes, Dofa. Yeah, as we can see, this is Nigerian Women Lead, which as Soraya happens to be the founder of this great movement. And we usually do a lot of activities. We have done a lot here in Nigeria with the help of Soraya funding the project. The name of the group, as we have heard, is Nigerian Women Lead. It's not only Nigerian Women Lead, but men are included. This is why we can see it is a touch of men and women here in this particular gathering. Next slide, Dofa. Yes.
Dofa, are you on the call?
Are you on the call, Dofa?
Yes, I'm on the call. Can you see the screen?
Are you having some difficulties with the slides so that I can just summarize?
Quickly, let's go to the next slide. Ruth has shared the first two slides.
Okay.
Sorry, however much we prepare, technology is always an issue, and I appreciate your patience.
Especially here in Nigeria, we have a lot of issues with the network and all this stuff. So we are sorry. Anyway, yeah, I can't just wait for the slides for the sake of time. Finding it difficult to share it. I don't know what the problem is though. But let me just summarize it. As we all heard, Nigerian Women Lead is a movement that is founded by Soraya MD. Is a lawyer, community organizer. She organizes from the grassroots and an activist, a one-time award-winning activist. Yes, thank you, Dofa. Who are we? That's the next slide. Is the move is too tiny, Dofa. Can you widen it?
Let's go through quickly, right, Ruth?
Yes, Dofa. Are you having difficulty in sharing?
Okay, at my end, I can see everything shared properly. Probably it's from
I think
your own end.
the
Yeah.
screen is showing. Dofa, we can see your screen.
Yeah. From my end here, I'm finding it difficult to see it.
Maybe
Just
it's your network, but it's already displayed. The
Yeah,
screen
and
is clear.
yeah, and presently
Yeah.
it's on our work. I guess that's what you all can see.
Okay. Okay. This is who we are. That's what I'm seeing here, Dofa.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing. The slide is not moving.
Yes. So let me just summarize it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for the sake of time, sorry, I don't think we will go with the slide because of the time factor. Yes, as we can see, I've introduced this part already that we are community mobilizers, community organizers. We work with women 60%, as we can see, but men are included. You know, the backbone of the movement has to do with men. So it is not a pure women thing. And we included men to be our supporters in the movement. As I've earlier introduced, that Soraya Mdin is the backbone of the movement, and we mobilize women from the grassroots to train them and to bring out the best in them to see their potentials, and also as well to know their self-interest in order to do so. Having been having some of the conference, we had some conferences here in Nigeria in 3 places precisely. We had in Jalingo with a huge number of women. Honestly, it was such a wonderful project there. We had project like more than 2 times in a Jalingo. After that, grooming the leaders, they came up and they did a lot of projects in schools, in a lot of places to bringing out the best in the community and in the women. And it was such a wonderful project. We also did projects in Abuja by gathering a large number of women. I think, if I've not forgotten, more than 100. In Jalingo is 150. In Abuja, we had 50 women, and as well in Kaduna State, all in Nigeria, we had 152. I think it was such a wonderful project funded by Soraya M. Dean, who happens to be the CEO of Nigeria Women Lead. So as you can see, we are still on the project. This is just to tell you few of what we have been doing in Nigeria. And Soraya Mdin is doing such a great work in Nigeria. She is so bold, not even minding the insecurity here in Nigeria. Soraya is just doing her best to see that she has bring out the best in women. She's really doing well. Thank you so much, Soraya, for this wonderful project. And we hope and pray that you get more hands and more funding, because we know this is what is crippling you back for now. But with the help of those who have gathered now, we'll join our hands to see where we will do all those things. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So it is a privilege to have our guest speaker of the month, because we usually have these programs monthly to educate ourselves, to fish out those challenges in order to know where we'll focus next in our projects. So this is the aim of the program. Every month we do bring a large number of people to at least discuss a particular challenge and see how we can come in to be part of those who will play a role in stopping violence in Nigeria. So today we have our guest, which I will call on our CEO Soraya to introduce him in order to give us insight on the massacre of Fulani massacre in Benue State, Nigeria. Thank you so much, Soraya. I'm giving you now the floor to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ruth. Welcome, Frank, and welcome everybody on this call. As I said before, we don't focus on advocacy. We are a grassroots movement, because we believe then when the voices from the ground wake up and cry for justice, and when we can build those numbers, particularly among women and youth, we will see change happen. So our work is centered around building a organizing the community, giving them the resources, giving them the tools, and asking them to select specific action that they need to take to address religious freedom violations. And also that is also connected to poverty, the lack of education, it's corruption in Nigeria. It's a broad spectrum of challenges. And thank you, Ruth, again. Ruth is our country coordinator. What she was modest about is that she has trained over 3,000 women in Gombe State. If I say I'm coming to Nigeria, Ruth is the one who gets on the ground and organizes the women. Every meeting we have had, we have brought together over 300 to 500 women to address these issues. Today is a very sad day because, as always, working in Nigeria, it can give us hope, but also it really bogs us down with deep sorrow, concern, and the hopelessness and the helplessness of the issues that we are called to address. David Onyil Lokubu Ida, Director of International Human Rights Commission, said, what is happening in Nigeria is a genocide in slow motion. And there are many intersections to this. Today we are going to ask our speaker what those intersections are, what those solutions are that he sees that is happening through his lens and his work. We will focus on the Fulani massacre in Benue State, Nigeria, which raised alarming concerns about the escalating violence and the intercommunal strife that threatens the region's stability. And as we all know, what I as a Muslim woman is personally invested in is trying to understand the psychology and the modus operandi of these terrorist organizations, where as they commit their atrocities, they are shouting, Allahu Akbar. And that is something that is personally challenging to me. So what is happening today, in my understanding, is not only conflict and violence and tribal violence, but there is a component of religious persecution here that we have to strongly advocate and acknowledge. I think until we acknowledge the real problem, we cannot go to solutions. So before I give it over to Frank, the tragic loss of life and suffering inflicted upon civilians are not mere statistics anymore. They represent a profound human tragedy. And let us hear from our speaker what happened in his state in June. So Franc Utoo is a native of Yelaweta in Benue State, Nigeria, the epicenter of the horrendous Fulani terrorist massacre of June 13th and June 14th, 2025. He holds a law degree from the Northumbria University, Newcastle, in the northeast of England. He's a lawyer, a politician, and a social activist. Franc Utoo has become a prominent voice in the insecurity crisis in Benue State and other parts of the Middle Belt region of Nigeria. He has consistently and vocally criticized the government's handling of the crisis, accusing the authorities of systematic inaction and silent complicity. He's currently a graduate student at the University of Central Oklahoma in the United States with a major in policy. This academic affiliation, combined with his legal background, gives him a platform to speak on issues affecting Nigeria from a perspective of both a personal experience and a professional analysis. Before I give it over to Franc, I just want to tell you, we're going to have Franc speak for about 15 minutes. I'm going to ask him a few questions to clarify what he said, and then we will open it up to questions before we close it in 45 minutes from now. Franc, thank you again. Please, over to you.
All right, Soraya, thank you very much. First of all, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the privilege of being in your midst today. And I appreciate the good work you've been doing. I appreciate your country director, Ruth. I was able to go through your flyers, and I've been so amazed with the objective of your organization. You've been doing so much for Nigerian women. My earnest prayer at this point, before I continue, is to talk to you and talk to Ruth to see that you extend it to my state, to Benue State, especially my own local government that has suffered so much neglect in the midst of terror attacks, constant terror attacks in the last 12 years. So I want to welcome everybody on this program today, and I believe we're going to have a very wonderful conversation for the next couple of minutes. Well, like you rightly say, I'm from Yerwata in Guma local government area of Benue State. So I'm an indigenous of the area. The village was established by my great-grandfather. And my own biological dad was village head until he passed in May of 2023. So by our tradition, I was supposed to actually be the village head now, the village head of Yerwata. Because after the death of my dad, I was called upon to take over by my kinsmen. But of course, as you can see, maybe it looks like some of us are quite more exposed and more educated to be confined to the village. So maybe if I was in the village on June 13 and June 14, I could have been a victim of the murderous Fulani attacks. But God forbid. So, but those who were killed on that day were my direct relations. They were my kinsmen. They were my friends. Many were my childhood friends. Many were my aunties, my uncles, my cousins. In my widest imagination, I've never ever thought that kind of massacre would happen in my village. In the last 12, 13, 14, 15 years, going back to around 2012, that's 13, we've been witnessing these constant attacks from the Fulani terrorists. But it has not been widely publicized because we've come to live with it. It has become like a way of life for us, that these people will be killing our people almost every single week that passes. And so what made the massacre of June 13 and 14 a little bit different was basically because of the sheer number of victims. Because in the whole of 2025, this year, starting from January to this point, at no place In nowhere in any part of the world was such a number killed in a single night. Nowhere. It never happened. War between Israel and Palestine and Hamas in Gaza for 250 people to be exterminated within one night. Never happened. This year, Israel-Iran, the 12-day war, that a single day, about 258 people were killed. It never happened. It never happened in the war going on between Houthis in Yemen, that 258 people were killed in a single night within 4 hours, starting from 10 p.m. on 13th of June, around 4 14 within 15. It never happened in Russia, Ukraine. It never happened in the Democratic Republic Congo, where a war is on, and it never happened in Sudan, where a war is currently going on. So we had that notorious reputation of having 200 of our 58 kinsmen obliterated within 4 hours in a single night. And so it drew global attention. But as an indigenous of the soil, I'll let you know that this is what we've been facing every time. And like I said earlier, what made this one different was because of the show. You quite different narratives. Some other people attached economic narrative that have been skewed by their elites. Then there's the narrative of ethnic domination, invention and domination and capture, and then the narrative of jihad. So for me, in the earlier days,
Well, we're going to ask everybody to mute, please, except for Frank. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. For me, in the earlier days, before a couple of years ago, before 2020, I was also keen into the narrative of the economic factor. That these guys are just basically of greener pasture for their heads. That was before 5 years ago. But from 5 years, I came to realize that guys who are the progenitors of Ottoman Danfodio, father of the jihad of 1804 in Nigeria, they only want to live up to his dream. Because when he started the jihad in Nigeria, in his words, he said the jihad will not until he Quran in the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. And so his successor offspring have first times with this, but this time around they open that this is why they are staging these killings, the jihad. And so that is plans in Plateau, in southern Gombe, Bauchi, in Taraba, and of course the epicenter is because if Benue is the buffer between northern Nigeria. For you to gain access to the southern part of Nigeria, you have to penetrate Benue in the middle belt, and we consider ourselves as the buckle of the belt of Nigeria. For every belt, there's the west. So Benue is that buckle. And so at every time, they try to penetrate Benue. And unfortunately for me, my own village is the first village from the northern front when you are leaving Nasarawa State and entering into Benue. Yerwata is a village in Benue, living Kaduna coaches in that state. That is what we bear this brunt. So what happened on June 14, June 13 and 14? Let me come to the crux of the matter. What happened was that on that day, before that day, we got intelligence report. We've always been getting this report because we have many of our kinsmen in Nasarawa State. We have many of our friends who are indigenous of Nasarawa State who belong to some other tribes in Nasarawa State but have been in sympathy with us. And so anytime these guys are planning these attacks, they are planning in these communities where some of these natives of Nasarawa State are. And some of them do get hold of the information and pass it across. So in the build-up to June 13th, there was a meeting at Agaragu in Nasarawa State of these Fulanis. They were recruiting people, recruiting 50,000 naira and promising 100,000 naira for kill. When you go to kill, you're going to be giving additional 100,000. You know, and that's why when they go out for kill, they make sure there is quite a huge casualty because there is a prize money attached to it. And so they were recruiting in Agaragu. They were in Adudu, which is in Obi. Look, where is that? When they were coming, we sent to security. We sent the messages to security agencies so that they can be proactive. But it never happened. And we were coming, they looked up Giza. Giza is in Kiana local government of Nasarawa State. Giza is just about less than 20 kilometers to Yerwata. Over in Giza. Prayed to go and put because they feel they are doing it for Allah. It's a jihad in furtherance of establishing an sultanate, an extension of the sultanate into Benue. And so the day they came, 13th of June, they arrived around 9 to 10 p.m. and they divided themselves into 4 groups. And why did they do that? They had few military guys of Fulani ethnic stock in their midst. Now, some of these arrests have been revealing what we've been saying over the years, that some of these Fulani military guys and police guys have been involved in this terrorist act. So what they did was that they divided themselves into 4 groups so that they could strike simultaneously in 4 locations in Yerwata, so that if the attention of the youth of Yerwata and the security agencies, and in this regard, the security agencies I mean here, because the military we have in Yerwata are just bystanders. They don't react, they are just there to watch happenings. So when we talk of security in Yerwata, we are regarding making reference to the police and the anti-riot mobile policemen. So when these guys divided this, that's a military tactics, diversion. And so they were striking at 4 locations at the same time. And the police were engaging just one group. And went into rampage, burning people in stores, in their houses, macheting people. You've seen the graphic, the horrific pictures all over the internet. A single night we lost over 200 people. And many others died on their way to the hospital in Makodi. Now, for the purpose of our viewers and for their enlightenment, I want to say, when you hear the name Yerwata, a lot of people begin to misinterpret it, to think it's a village somewhere in the bush, like many other villages. But no, Yerwata is placed on the highway, the federal highway. It's just 25 minutes drive to Makodi and 25 minutes drive to Lafia. So we're in the middle of Lafia and Makodi, 2 state capitals. In these 2 state capitals, we have security agencies, the DSS, the MOPO, and the additionally the Air Force, the 72 Special of the Nigerian Army, or But this thing carnage happened in Yerwata for 4 good hours. Houses were burnt. You could imagine the conflagration, the large fire that was consuming this house, how the entire federal highway was lit with bright fire for that 4 hours, and no intervention came. And that points to what with the state complicity in this. Because these people cannot operate successfully without the backing of the state. But that was Isaiah, unfortunately. And these people, after killing our people, they retreated back to, which we've been saying time without number, have become notoriously as the safe haven for these Fulani terrorists. They found a safe haven in that state, and it is from that state that they've been had to, they do come out from the forest of Wamba, from the Mahanga forest, to attack villages in Mangu local government of Plateau, in Panchin local government, in Barkin Ladi. So that is the other side of it. So we are facing a systematic jihad that in Nigeria. And I want to let you know that it is because that is why it has been so very difficult to contend. That is why it's so difficult to intervene. Because truth of the matter is that many of these guys, especially of the federal government, are part and parcel of this. We've been getting these revelations. One month ago, I watched the interview on channels of Buba Galadima, one of the allies to late General Buhari. And he mentioned that the protection of Fulani and the furtherance of their cause was the singular reason why Buhari ventured into politics to contest for president and become president, just to further the Fulani agenda. He mentioned it publicly. We've been getting these revelations around distant times without number. But we thank God that they themselves have been coming out to make these revelations. It's happening. So we are still facing it. It's something that they will never give up, because it's an agenda that is a decision, a collective goal they want to achieve. So that is what has been happening in Nigeria. That is the reality of what we are facing.
Thank you, Frank. For the listeners, I know not everybody's from Nigeria. Could you just tell us about who are these Fulanis? Is this overflow of the legacy, some say? And who are these Fulani?
Okay, the Fulanis are known variously in the different West African countries as the Pulu. Some call the Fula. In other countries, the Fulanis in Nigeria originated from Futajalon in Guinea. That was present-day Guinea. That was where the family of Odman Danfodio burst out from in the 19th century to the present-day Gobir in Sokoto. And so these people are expansionists, and find them in every West African country, starting from Senegal, Gambia, to Guinea, to Mauritania, to Burkina Faso, to Sierra, to Niger, and up to Nigeria. And they are bringing created concept of the jihad, that they just want to take charge and dominate. And so when they came to Nigeria, that's the family of Odman Danfodio. They went at jihad. They were hosted by the Hausa ethnic group in today's northern Nigeria. But they revolted against their host and staged a jihad and took over the entirety of Hausa land today. So today in the you find that the Hausa state may be dominated by the Hausa ethnic group, people of the Hausa ethnic stock, but the leadership of those states are headed by the Fulanis. That's the governors and their traditional rulers. Anywhere you hear of an emir, that is a Fulani traditional ruler. The town may be Hausa more related, but the traditional ruler is a Fulani. So they operate by jihad and simple kind of gambit, because that was what happened when they went to Ilorin in the 19th century. Ilorin, like we know right from the name, and there was a Fulani guy who came to Ilorin in the early 19th century and met the ruler of Ilorin, the Afonja. He came as his was known as Alimi. He came as a guest to Afonja in Ilorin. And Afonja welcomed him in good faith and hosted. But this Alimi, within a now mobilized Gobir and some other parts of Sokoto to come to over Ilorin. So as Ilorin, which is a Yoruba town, has become an emirate. It is head, and any attempt to dislodge them, which like sometime do tenure when the OPC, as the Odua People's Congress, they revolted. That was one of the reasons they said Buhari had to come into politics, because Buhari was their patron. Yoruba town, as dear to do the dominant ethnic group in that town still remains the Yoruba. The name is a Yoruba name. You know, it's ancestral land, but they've taken it over. They've taken over many ancestral people. They've taken over a lot of lands in Nasarawa. Nasarawa never belonged to them, but they've taken over many land. Many traditional rulers in Nasarawa have now been converted into emirs. Like in those days, I know of the area of Awe. Today is the emir of Awe. You know, even the Gudi, the Mada village in Akwanga local government of Nasarawa state. But they've taken it over and they've given emirates. It's not an emirate, it's an emir. So that is exactly what they want to do in Benue state. Benue and a sultanate, and after Benue, they begin to go downwards. The southern. And so a lot of people bring the narrative that no, it's not. We the victims know this because they've told us. They've always said it. You know, anytime they come to attack, they begin to shout. They begin to mention their purpose, how this thing is going to Allah, and they begin to invoke. I'm sorry, my mom is my own biological mom is a Muslim. You know, Soraya here is a Muslim. If Muslim could be as peaceful as the lives of Soraya, if they could be as peaceful as the lives of my mom, who is a Muslim, my own mom, you know, but these guys, they allow Akbar, which in Islam, in Arabic, means God, has unfortunately become the most globally recognized terrorist. Anytime they are killing people, that is the slogan they invoke. And so when they came to Yerwata that day, that night, Allah Akbar, that they were shouting and yelling and invoking, that the night people were hearing and they were talking about Islamizing and dedicating it to God. So not anybody will come and tell us for a different purpose or that we have been facing. We have been hearing them tell us.
Thank you. You know, this is the serious we are seeing all over the world, particularly as you mentioned, Nigeria, what happened that night. Muslim militias are committing these horrendities and using the word Allahu Akbar. And so we really can understand from what you're saying, Frank, that this violence is not random. It is a coordinated campaign to really build a caliphate and to displace the so and the saddest, somebody is letting do it. They are being loved in Nigeria. Who are those forces? And why we hear sufficient from the people on the afraid to speak up?
Thank you very much. Let me start from the rear. The last thing you mentioned. Are they afraid to speak up? That is the problem we've been having. And that is where political come into the picture. You know, the Fulanis have successfully placed themselves in the top echelon of the different sectors of the Nigeria, in politics, in economy, in the military, and everywhere. In the traditional institutions, the Sultan is just the Fulani head, and and to some extent the head of the Muslim, but he has his influence spread all across the country of that love of domination. Do you understand? A lot of our people, even within Benue, you find that during politics, during political campaigns, they go to so many of these Fulani governors, many of the Fulani traditional rulers, to get support in monetary terms and in political influence to win election. And so you see that a lot of our people become compromised too. And that is the reason why this carnage, this terrorism, this genocide will not stop soon. Because of the compromise involved even by our own people. So this guy's agenda, you ask why has it not stopped? Because it's an agenda. It's an agenda, and let me tell you, you see, there's a group called the IPOP. The IPOP was a group that was founded by one for the purpose of getting an independent Biafran state, like what happened in 1960 when the Civil War broke out. IPOP is now reinventing what happened in 1967. Now, government of General Buhari declared that organization as a terrorist organization. You need to see the intense, the vehemence, the gravity to which the Nigerian state apply in fighting this IPOP. The air bombard them. They go through the land, but the army to neutralize this. Nigerian state has not applied 1/10 of that in the fight against a more Fulani jihadists. They've never, because the agenda of a group of people that are strategically placed in the Nigerian, and that is why whenever any killing happen in Plateau, Fulani killing in Plateau, in Nasarawa State, in Benue State, you will not hear these people say anything. The best they could do, they will mask it and shed some form of crocodile tears and drop a smoke screen by to say they are condoling the people of Benue State. Never hear them calling for the arrest of these people, because a call for the arrest of these people will go back to them, the sponsors. Just Google it, check it. You never ever hear them call for the arrest of the terrorists. They can only drop a smoke screen by saying they are condoling with the people of Benue State, they are condoling the people of Bokos, of Mangu local government, of the genocide that happened, over the killings that happened. And then they will stop at that point. Because it's the collective agenda of these people. And then again, you will never hear the arrest of these killers. We've had soldiers several times in our place. Killings have been taking place in hundreds, in thousands. Soldiers have never gone down one Fulani attacker, one Fulani jihadist. There's nowhere to show you. The soldiers have been displaying bodies of terrorists in the northwest and terrorists in the northeast, and IPOP they call the terrorists in the eastern part of Nigeria. But the soldiers all through the years have never displayed one body, one corpse of a Fulani terrorist that was killed. And the whole world has come to know this fact. And even the government of Saudi Arabia, they deported in this year's Hajj in March. They deported one of their spokesperson, Sheikh Gumi, because they have all intel about him. These are progenitors of what is happening in Nigeria right now, the spokesperson. And when they went to Hajj, the Muslims of Saudi Arabia said, look, we never appreciate what you guys are doing in the name of Islam. They deported at Jeddah. So Nigerian kind of Islam is different. 3 years ago, under General Buhari's administration, the government of UAE released a list of alleged sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria, Fulanis. The corresponding names in Dubai were arrested. Those of them that were in Dubai at that time were arrested and prosecuted, and right now they're in jail in Dubai. And so the government of UAE sent a corresponding list of those in Nigeria to the government of Nigeria to arrest them and prosecute them. And Nigeria has slept over that list. So some of these other Muslim countries in the Middle East are never appreciative of what the Fulani jihadists are doing in Nigeria. So, and that is why we're saying our own kind of Islam is totally different.
Wow, it's very, very, very encouraging to know that Saudi Arabia and the UAE have dealt with these people who are perpetuating the violence. But it's egregious to think that the Nigerian government is not willing to do anything. So given the situation, I'm just thinking, Frank, this will be my last question before we open it to the people. I think there has to be a concerted strategy, where United States has to lead with diplomatic, economic, and grassroots initiatives, especially for people like us who are civil society activists, who are trying to do something. And a CP designation, country of particular concern. What else comes to your mind? How can we support, call these out from the United States government?
Okay, for me, I feel that these killers, their sponsors are not spirits. They are well known, especially by the United States government. They are well known by many of these Arab governments, and that is why the Arab governments have been dealing with them, like the government of UAE that has jailed some of them right now. They are in UAE jails as we speak. And the government of Saudi Arabia just this year March deported Sheikh Gumi at the airport in Jeddah and could not allow him, for the Hajj this year in Jeddah. So these people, what we want the United States government to do is to apply economic sanctions against these persons. They have their source of funding. Of course, many of them have bank accounts outside the country, and they're using that as source of funding. If this bank account can be frozen, and then economic sanctions applied against these people. And Soraya, you were there at National Press Building when I was there in July in Washington. And I also called on the United States government to declare Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Because by the time you declare Nigeria a CPC, the effort of the United States towards these issues in Nigeria become more intense. But right now, the government of the United States is quite sleeping on this issue. And so much global attention has been focused. I want to tell you that, in truth, there's a very big humanitarian crisis in Gaza. I want to tell you that what Nigeria, in Benue, in Plateau, in southern Kaduna, and 5 years is more than what is happening in Gaza. In IDP camp in Benue are more than 1 million. In IDP camp in Plateau are more than 500,000. So that is a humanitarian crisis of gargantuan proportion. The number of deaths killed in these places are more than the number of deaths killed in Gaza, for instance. But you see, we lack that media attention. The attention of the world somewhere else. So our people are being killed 3 days in silence. So if the government of the United States and the European Union could stand up on this issue in Nigeria, declare Nigeria as a country of particular concern, apply sanctions to many of these guys who are in government, who are known funders of this jihad, we'll begin to record change. And you see, some of them can clearly be cited recently when the government of Nigeria nurtured security collaboration. Nigeria, just recently, last month, Nigeria was tinkering with establishing a security collaboration between our country and Israel. Out of the blues, a wide protest just happened in the north amongst the elite of the north, fighting against this. So it tells you who are the sponsors. It tells you that now we want to get maybe the Israeli Mossad in the world who may assist Nigeria to tackle these issues. And these people have raised up in protest against that security collaboration. I've never seen that kind of thing.
They want
and Nigeria want to.
They want.
Yes, and to establish a security collaboration with Israel. And then for so that this Fulani started shouting, started screaming.
Was the objection only from the northeast?
Only from the north.
Okay.
Only from, not even the north, the core north where the Fulani are based. Not even my own part of the north, because my state is considered north, not central, although we are middle belt. We are more of a middle belt. You know, but we are politically known as the North Central.
Right.
Yes, but only from the core North, the Fulani North. Otherwise, collaboration between Nigeria and Israel.
Wow, it's so overwhelming, Frank. All the perpetrators and the vested interest parties with vested interest are not taking action, and who are grassroots activists are trying to mobilize the people to raise their voices, and they are afraid. This is like a cycle that serious intervention is necessary. And as you said, nowhere, it must be the worst international terror attack that happened in your state in 2025. Wow.
Correct. In my own village.
It is very painful. Please know, I, as a Muslim woman, I apologize very, very gravely, very about what's been the community, particularly the Christians. I am very sorry to hear this. Thank you. I will give it over to Ruth to monitor questions from others or from participants. Ruth, over to you. Any questions, please?
Yes, Soraya. I'm just trying to hold my tears. It's so pathetic. I felt so emotional right now. I'm so sorry happening, Frank. This is so pathetic. I felt the pain. I kept wondering, Frank, from the northern Nigeria, I have not witnessed any killing of a human like the one that happened in Yelwata. What do you think was the problem? I think that was the incident we recorded in Nigeria, that over a night, 200 persons have been killed. I kept asking, what's so special about that particular place that this huge number of people got killed for no reason? What do you think happened?
Okay, what happened was just a statement of intent, to make our declaration very loud. That was what happened that night. So, like I told you earlier, I said my village is the first in Benue State. If you're coming from Nasarawa State, that's the first. So for you to penetrate Benue, you need to clear some of these villages.